Alright guys, the time is now for another entry in our Community Cast series. In this match, we're going to have a showdown between the Tomb Kings, who are going to be led by Cetra the Imperishable, and the Vampire Counts, who are going to be led by the STREEEEGOI Ghoul King. So he's going to be atop his mighty Terrorgeist. Pretty rare you see the STREEEEGOI Ghoul King on foot. I feel like he's just like this haggard, shambling beast if he is. But on the Terrorgeist, definitely pretty powerful. Anti-large, armor piercing, he has poison, has access to Spirit Leech, as well as Invocation of Nehek. So definitely very good at like gooning enemy lords and big targets. So looking forward to seeing how it goes this match. But for the front line of the Tomb Kings, in total, they do have 3 groups of heavy infantry by Tomb King standards. Tomb Guard here, they have the Kepler Guard in the middle, which again are like the Tomb King version of the Stearnsmen. Just good combat stats. They also have regeneration. And something else that's cool in this matchup is they do have magic damage. So if they're fighting against any spooky ghosts, they can get a little bit of a buff there, which is cool. One more group of Tomb Guard on the far side. In the back, we have Skeleton Spearmen. Maybe the King Nikesh's Scorpion Legion? No, it does not look like it. So going a little bit cheap. 2 groups of Skeleton Spears. Honestly, going to be okay at like fending off Black Knights and flank pressure. But the typical build in this matchup, I think, for the Vampire Counts is just to go like fisticuffs with, double Terrorgeist, as well as a zombie dragon. So having all the spears will definitely be helpful, but it's really going to fall heavily on the shoulders of the Sphinx here to do most of the anti-large lifting. For his leadership, he does have Cetra the Imperishable, who we don't see terribly often, although I think he might not be bad in this matchup. I mean, on this big beast, he can definitely go fisticuffs. So he does have the Blessed Blade of Petra, which gives him negative 26 melee attack. Well, not him, but his opponents, as well as their melee defense by 27. So that's pretty good. Wrath of Petra, which is the explosion. Let's see, Usak's Incantation of Desiccation. So a lot of debuffs here. So potentially when those Terrorgeists do come in to go fisticuffs, he can layer the Blessed Blade and then layer it with this debuff here to just kind of perpetually keep their stats like around 10. Nero's Incantation, as well as the Cursed Blade. So definitely some good stuff there. He does also have a Necrotect on foot. So it looks like the Necrotect does have an item. So let's go ahead and look in here because it's not something you see terribly often. He has the Elixir of Might, which just basically is like steroids, makes him a little bit jacked here. But I think this is the synergy here. So the Embraces of the Sun gives negative 22% flame resistance to a target. So I think it's all nearby troops. Oh, that's cool. It's constant. So, for example, if one of the Terrorgeists lands and he times that synergy with Cetra and is able to get that sword, which gives him fire damage, he can just absolutely shrek some of these big targets. So really looking forward to seeing if that synergy pays off here. Got the Sphinx and a Bone Giant. So the Bone Giant is definitely pretty accurate, good against these big targets. However, it's very vulnerable to things like Terrorgeists. But man, look at that explosion in the distance. A direct hit on the STREEEEGOI Ghoul King. Definitely paying for him, paying his dues already. But yeah, this thing, his melee defense is relatively low at 30, but I think he's getting buffs from Thy Will Be Done, as well as the Crown of Netkara. Look at that, he's getting some juicy stats. So for the Vampire Army, very spooky stuff. He's got Fellbats here. He does also have Fellbats here, 2 Terrorgeists, so STREEEEGOI Ghoul King here. And on the other side, pretty much the same thing. It's just a Terrorgeist, but the STREEEEGOI Ghoul King obviously a little bit stronger. Spirit Leech, Invocation of Nehek, as well as Bloodthirst, I think. What is that? What is spell called? It's Bloodlust. Damn. For his front line, he does have mostly Graveguard. So Graveguard trade very efficiently. Definitely not a bad choice. They do beat the Tomb Guard, if I'm not mistaken, because Tomb Guard have poor AP against their 90 armor, and these guys also have a bonus for his infantry. So that definitely favors the vampires. He does have the double Corpse Guard with the Unholy Lodestone, so 1 here. Healing, I think, yeah. So it's going to be giving Vigor Mortis and healing, and then he has 1 here. And he also does have a Necromancer who's just a Raised Dead battery with the Forbidden Rod. So he's going to be stroking that Forbidden Rod and potentially raising some dead. So guys, without further ado, let's get the show on the road. So the Bone Giant on the wings, taking some pot shots over here at the STREEEEGOI Ghoul King. So he's 1 for 1 so far. So it looks like he took a shot there, maybe was given some different orders to attack a different target. May have canceled his animation. But here comes shot number 2, and let's see if he's going to hit it. The Olympic shot coming in with a direct hit on the Ghoul King. Not doing like game-breaking damage, but it's definitely getting him closer to his healing cap because the Ghoul King, of course, will heal himself because he is a spooky vampire. So the Bone Giant looks like it has switched targets. He's probably going to be going after a Corpse Guard or Necromancer, and the Necromancer is going to take a direct hit. Oh, that actually looks like it kind of skimmed his scalp there. A little bit of blood flying after the fact there, but a very good breath attack coming down from the Ghoul King, roasting a pretty substantial portion of that formation. It looks like it kills 13 models. Wow, that is really good. It also does some okay HP damage. Another shot coming in on the Necromancer, just popping him in the dome, so he's going to have to start like strafing and just running side to side to make sure that doesn't happen. In the meantime, though, the Tomb Guard formation is taking quite a bit of damage from the Terrorgeist breath attack, so that's definitely some good stuff. Cetra thinking about charging in. A little bit dangerous because the 2 Terrorgeists could then collapse. Some flank harass coming in from the Ghoul King. He is attacking spears who were braced, so he's not going to get a charge bonus. He definitely probably wants to do that against the Tomb Guard because they don't have charge defense, so he's probably going to pull back up in there. In the meantime, the Fellbats are just kind of waiting in the back. I would probably send the Fellbats against the Bone Giant once the fighting starts. That's probably what he's going to end up doing. But right here we do have a battle. So Cetra comes in and is going to be going fisticuffs with the Terrorgeist. He does get a nice little attack as the Terrorgeist does try and flee away here. And you can see that the Sphinx is kind of looking for targets as well. But every time he goes one direction to deal with the other one, the other Terrorgeist swoops in. So very good play here from the Vampire Counts, just kind of pressuring. He's definitely going to want to like put 1 and 1 on each side to deal with these things. But man, just going right down the formation. But he is giving it back with the Bone Giant. So even though he is taking some losses, he's at least fighting back and returning some of the favor, right? So the Necromancer a little bit low, but he's also healing up a little bit, so they're getting back up to their healthy states. Front line of the Tomb Guard is going to be engaging in the Kepler Guard here. The Necromancer does kind of break the charge, and the Kepler Guard have engaged with the... are these the Sternsmen? I don't think they are. I think it's just regular Grave Guard. So the Kepler Guard probably should win against standard Grave Guard, but the other ones will most certainly lose, especially with the support of the Corpse Guards giving the 5 melee attack and melee defense. It's really going to come down to the monster fights. The Necrotech's kind of hanging out right here, staying here as constructs, but there is going to be a zombie summon from the Necromancer just to muck up the Bone Giant, some of those troops. And the Sphinx definitely doesn't want to be wasting his time against like skeletons. Just leave the chaff, skeleton spearmen, and that kind of stuff to fight. So the battle's underway for the most part. Kepler Guard are cutting through those Grave Guard in the middle. But you can see these Tomb Guard, who are just very, very beaten up at this point, are just getting mulched by these guys. So the Sphinx is just going to go in aggressively against his Necromancer, just start world beating him, doing some pretty good damage, I guess. Or no, he hasn't really hit him yet. So a little bit of tricky business going on. The Necromancer's got the moves. But the Wrath of Petra going down in the black, and the Blessed Blade, just such a tongue twister. And he does a ton of damage against the Terrorgeist, bringing him down probably about 1500 HP right there. He did have the support of the Bone Giant, so very good stuff from Setcha. Granted, that is a long cooldown on that item, so it's going to be a while. But the Sphinx is just such a monster. He actually... Oh, the Elixir might be cast on other units. Okay, I just learned something today. So 50% weapon damage being given to the Sphinx, and he is just giving this Terrorgeist, this Strigoi Ghoul King, the business. Also, the Husef Incantation of Desiccation, lowering his melee defense and melee attack. So really, really cool play there from the Tomb King, seeing some items you don't normally see. Bone Giant not doing a whole lot, just kind of clubbing on some zombies and skeletons, but is a-okay, but very, very good play there with that Elixir. Also, the Restore is going to go down as well from the Necrotech, which is going to heal up quite a bit of HP. Are the Vampires, I definitely try and snipe the Necrotech out, but again, this is something you need to deal with, so I understand why he's just going Fisticuffs. And he does have a 2v1 situation, so he pulls in the Fellbats. The Fellbats could potentially like screw up the AI. So if the Tomb King player isn't like spam clicking the right target, you can see that the Sphinx is going to start turning and attacking the Fellbats and the new threats. In the meantime, he's still taking that damage from the Ghoul King as well as the other Terrorgeist, but not that much. That Narrows Incantation of Protection doing a ton of work, and on top, I mean, it's almost like half damage, right, against these targets. And on top of that, the Restore also heals like close to 1000 HP. So the Bone Giant's back online as well, just trying to pick off the Necromancer, but the Necromancer has the moves. But this Sphinx is just tanking these guys just like an absolute boss. I'm surprised it hasn't taken a lot more damage with how long he's been, getting attacked here. But those spells, the supporting spells, very, very good stuff. Corpse Guard in the front line is supporting the Grave Guard, but the Grave Guard really getting cut up by the Kepler Guard here. We do have a Wonder Woman here with his lasso, doing her lasso, whatever. Who knows? Aren't these things undead anyways? So the Setcha the Imperishable is going to be jumping in as well, and they do get a bit of a gank on the Strigoi Ghoul King, and it looks like some knights that were kept in reserve, the Barracks Reavers back here. I could have sworn I saw them. Maybe they were pressuring the flank, but I just like totally missed them in the army selection, so maybe he had them like off to the side or something. But they do charge in. They're not going to be terribly useful against these targets. The Guard or the Barracks Reavers definitely should be rear charging the infantry. Because again, their armor piercing is very low. Granted, they could do some decent damage on the initial charge because of their charge bonus, and I understand at this point he's just trying to get bodies, right? Because it's such like an intense fight here. So the Sphinx is actually getting a little bit low. Its binding is weak. It's at about 25 leadership, so not like in the crumbling range yet, but it's definitely getting a little bit lower. And the Strigoi Ghoul King and this Terrorgeist are just trying to use their numbers advantage, and they are getting the Sphinx down. 2600 HP here, but another Restore. That is brutal. So he gets a really good attack on it. He definitely, yeah, this is a good play here. So the Vampire Count player is going to leave the Terrorgeist to fight and then cycle charge with the Strigoi Ghoul King, using the HP of this Terrorgeist essentially as a resource. But the Ghoul King really should just rear charge that Sphinx. I mean, he could do so much damage right now, but it looks like he's going to go elsewhere. Maybe go after the Bone Giant. That's also not a bad play. He is winning this side of the battlefield. The Sternsmen and the other troops here doing very good, obviously. Each player like won. Wherever their respective like elite infantry were, they won that part of the battlefield, which is pretty cool. Over here, it looks like there's going to be some debuffs going down, so Invocation of the Head Catchers. Not a debuff, it's going to be healing up the Knights, and I suppose the Knights aren't doing a bad job. Negative 18 leadership on the Sphinx. I really would have liked to see the Ghoul King get in there, but I mean, he's still going to probably be able to, do some pretty good work against the Bone Giant, although it looks like his AI has switched him onto the Skeleton Spearman, so that's just a bit of a pro tip. Whenever you guys are playing, if you're trying to focus down a big target, you need to be like spam clicking it if there's other units nearby, because oftentimes units will like switch to different targets. You're not like manually and aggressively controlling them. So right here, Setcha is going to be jumping in there, just dogpiling in, and it looks like the Sphinx is actually going down. So the Knights, I mean, make me my words a little bit. I didn't think these Knights would be that helpful here, but they actually did a really good job. On top of that, his Terrorgeist was able to do work, even with the Necrotech nearby, and now the Ghoul King's going to be attacking Setcha. But guys, keep in mind, the Blade of Petra is probably almost off cooldown at this point, and on top of that, the Necrotech is lowering their fire resist, so they're getting this big penalty right now. So if Setcha turns it on, and he did, so the Blade is on. Let's go ahead and watch the attack. So 4,500 HP on this guy, so let's see what Setcha can do. I think Setcha's going to attack. There's about 400 damage right there, so nothing like just like insane, but it's still enough to work through it. And you can see that the healing cap is now active for the Terrorgeist here, so he's not going to be able to get healed anymore. And the Ushapti summon does come down, so these guys are going to be clubbing some of these undead here. Definitely a very good target for them. It's just to cleave through Graveguard and things like that. So Kepler Guard are nearby as well. They're going to be piling in. So the Vampire Counts had that advantage for a long time. They had these Varix Reavers kind of fighting in here, and they had the full surround. But now the Kepler Guard and some of the Tomb King support is coming in. And Cetra is certainly going to be tough to kill. So the Blade is still on. It seems to last pretty long, but it's about to wear off. A nice breath attack there from the Terrorgeist is going to be going down, or from the Strigoi Ghoul King. But man, he is in the danger zone, boys. He's sitting at about 1400 HP. Definitely a little bit risky, but he still has this other full health Terrorgeist, and if he gets really good cycle charging, maybe picks off the Necrotect. Over here, he still does the Sternsman, but this Bone Giant actually looks like he detached from combat, and let's see what he's been shooting at. So, oh, just direct shot right in the dome of the Strigoi Ghoul King. Ghoul King looks like he's going to land, but I don't know if he could beat this guy at this point. The Bone Giant, I mean, isn't like a beast in melee, but I feel like that's enough. But this is also a good play, taking advantage of his mobility advantage. He's going to be circling over here with his Terrorgeist and 2v1ing the Bone Giant, which is a really good play. He could most likely finish this off, but the Ghoul King needs to be really careful. He doesn't want to fall to a Bone Giant. That would definitely give the Tomb Kings the game here. You can see that Cetra is going to be cleaning up the Varix Reavers and some of these other troops, but Vampires are still fighting strong. They got the Königstein Stalkers in there, kind of chewing things up. The Sternsmen are going to be piling in, and this is just a super close game, but I mean, having the Strigoi Ghoul King this low, he needs to be super careful. I mean, what he could do against the Bone Giant, this is something you see a lot in high level of play, is that he could like feign a charge. So fly in like he was going to charge, and the Bone Giant player would probably like turn to face him, and then you pull up in the air at the last second, which is going to open up the back. The Terrorgeist will then be able to attack it in the back where the melee defense doesn't help, but Bone Giant's getting Shrek'd pretty good. This Terrorgeist is doing some work here. This is certainly anyone's game at this point, even though the Ghoul King is very, very low. Unfortunately, he's out of healing cap. But, oh, he's going in for the charge. He's just all-inning right now, trying to finish this thing off. He does get a really nice chunk of damage right there, and you can see the Bone Giant is going to be crumbling. But, man, this is just a super intense game. 653 HP. The Bone Giant turns around, and if he gets a really good slap, oh, but the Terrorgeist, the Ghoul King, is going to pull back. So they're kind of, tugging him back and forth. So the Bone Giant is going to fall, which is going to mean the Terrorgeist up in the sky, or the Ghoul King. I see the bat wings, and I keep thinking Terrorgeist. But the Ghoul King is going to be relatively safe now. So he can choose his engagements. If he can, like, draw Cetra away somehow with the other Terrorgeist, and he could probably goon this Necrotech pretty efficiently. But the Varix Reaver's still alive somehow with that. They do have regeneration and pretty good melee defense for, like, a cav unit. Breath attack going down for the Vampire counts. Looks like a little bit of friendly fire, but I don't know. It's really going to come down to whether this Terrorgeist can deal with Cetra, but there's also a Necrotech here, which is a heroic unit at its core. And, the Necrotechs actually have like 400 weapon strength, give or take, with a bonus versus infantry, so the Terrorgeist is going to be trying to goon the Necrotech, which I think is a pretty good choice. It's kind of a clipping away the weaker targets before you go for the Alpha Strike here. But Cetra is going to be charging in. The Usef's Incantation of Desecration, I think, is going to be going to Desiccation, lowering the melee attack and all those stats. You can see that the Varix Reavers are going to charge in as well, but this is a dangerous situation. Bloodlust has gone down from the Strigoi Ghoul King, giving him some 20% armor piercing damage, I think. Yeah, man, he's just getting whooped on by Cetra. The Blessed Blade of Patral going down, which, the fire weakness, just all that is still adding up because of this Necrotech here, which is just a thing of beauty. So Cetra right now jumping into the infantry. The Cav are getting a bit of a surround. Just such a close game. The Ghoul King, you can see the bounce power is in the favor of the Tomb Kings at this point, but the Vampires could still pull it back with some good cycle charging, but I think it's going to be tough actually now that I look. The Kepler Guard are here, Spears are here. The Vampire counts don't really have too much support left at this point. You can see that just mainly just clean up. The Necrotech is kind of putting a bit of a fighting on these guys. Bit of a fighting. But yeah, good breath attack right there on those troops. A little bit of efficient cycle charging, but you can see the Strigoi Ghoul King is going to be crumbling. I mean, he's been in the danger zone on that highway to the danger zone for so long that I think he's just, he's kind of at his wit's end here. So Cetra is going to get a rear charge. And is the Ghoul King going to go down to Cetra's attack? Cetra is just on the hunt. The Khemrian War Sphinx just happily trotting. And oh man, 194. But a good rear charge here from the Terrorgeist could potentially get some free damage on Cetra. Yeah, the Ghoul King is probably done for. I mean, no way of healing, crumbling. And I think that's going to be all she wrote. I mean, it's going to be a little bit of a cockfight between these two right now. But yeah, the Ghoul King charges in. You can see that Cetra is going to be fighting versus Terrorgeist to the bitter end. And man, just such a close fight. Oh, but look at this. The Necrotech's actually going down here. But the last of the Vampire counts do actually crumble off here. Necrotech might go down. It looks like he just fell over. I'm not sure if he's actually down for the count. And that's going to be it. So what a beautiful game. That was really fun to watch. Just back and forth. We got to see unusual tactics from both the Tomb Kings with the Necrotech synergy with Cetra's Blade. We also got to see the Strigoi Ghoul King in action, which is always pretty fun. So very well played to both players. I love the corpse card stuff. I mean, it was just a super fun, intense game. So yeah, I like the build. I like the Tomb Kings build. It definitely had the tools to deal with the Terrorgeist. The Bone Giant didn't do bad. I mean, he was able to chip away at the Ghoul King. I think off camera, like away from what we were watching for a lot of the fight, he was doing a lot of damage to the Ghoul King. And I like this build. I definitely think the double Terrorgeist is a little bit more effective, but I mean, this can certainly work as well. I mean, it was very close and could have gone either way. So very well played to Wa as well as Ambio. Look forward to hopefully running into you guys on ladder. And thanks again for sending in the community cast. And guys, we will see you all next time. Take care.